Hello, sweet team. Welcome back to my channel. This is Sweet Ajele. I am so excited to be with you all today as I share with you how I make my Banku mix. Very easy, very simple, but it makes your life a whole lot easier. Let's get started. For our ingredients, we need our Indian head white cornmeal, my favorite, but then again, that's the only type I have ever used. I'm also going to be adding this extra fine yellow cornmeal because I like the texture that it brings into my Banku mix. You can get any type that you like, just be sure that it's fine. I also have my yuca, and I'm going to be fermenting it the same amount of time that I'm fermenting my cornmeal. Okay, so this is frozen. I'm gonna leave it in a bag to ferment just like that, but if it's fresh, you will have to put it in water so that it doesn't discolor. In a bowl, I'll add my cornmeal, and this is a 5-pound bag, by the way. To that, I'll add my extra fine yellow cornmeal, and this one is a 1-pound bag. But what I like to do is to use half of the extra fine yellow cornmeal to 1 bag of the Indian head white cornmeal. You can do it any way you prefer, but I find that doing it half to a bag gives me the closest to Ghana cornmeal as I can get, and I absolutely love that. So now I'm just going to mix everything until it is well combined. Now, using a separate bowl, I'll scoop some of my cornmeal into it. To that, I will be adding enough water to form my corn dough. Now, you don't want to add too much water because you don't want this to be watery. You want it to be like a wet sand consistency. So I'll be adding the water little by little until I have reached the consistency that I'm looking for. Alright, y'all, so this is the consistency that I'm going for. Just perfect. It's not watery, but it's not stiff. So I'm going to go right ahead and transfer it into this container right here because I don't want the smell of the fermenting corn taking over my home. So in this bowl, I can just press it down and cover it up, okay? But if you like, you can press it down right in the same bowl and then cover it with plastic wrap, which will serve the same purpose. But I've been using this container for so long, I absolutely love it. You won't even know that I'm fermenting corn in my home when you come visiting. Ensure that you press it down very nice and tight with no air pockets, or as little air pockets as possible, because you don't want it to begin growing fungus in between your corn dough. I'm now using a spatula to smoothen the top up. Next, we'll be covering this up with plastic wrap. This right here is my mom's secret to no waste. I remember when I used to ferment my corn dough without covering it like this. By the time I'm done, I lose about a whole serving of Banku just by scraping the top of it to get rid of all that moldy stuff that grows on top of your corn dough in the fermentation process. But covering it like this with a plastic wrap saves you a lot. This will give you no waste. If any, it may be just a little bit on the sides, or if you did not press the plastic wrap onto your corn dough well enough. So ensure that you press it down well, getting rid of any air pockets that's underneath it, and you will have beautiful fermentation without any waste. Now, if you don't have a plastic wrap, you can use the olonka rubber. Just cut it up into a flat sheet and follow the same process. Now I'm just going to cover this up and leave it out for about 5 to 7 days. Now the amount of time you leave it out depends on the warmth in your environment. Okay, so it may vary from person to person. So this is about 7 days later. My cassava have been out fermenting for about the same amount of time, and it's also beautifully fermented. I'm going to, however, wash it off before blending it because it has stuff on it that I don't want. If you don't mind, you can go right ahead and use it that way, but I'm going to go ahead and wash everything off, then we will blend it. All right, y'all, this is just beautifully washed. What you want to do is to open it up to get rid of the core that lines the middle of the cassava, because we don't need that. And this is nice and soft. I love using frozen cassava because of this purpose. I left it out for 7 days. It still looks beautiful. It has fermented nicely and it's so nice and soft. It just literally crumbles in your hands, okay? But if you cannot get frozen cassava like I did, you can use fresh cassava, and you can prep it 2 ways. Either peel and freeze it to achieve this purpose right here. Just make sure you keep it in a bag while fermenting. Or you can just use the fresh cassava like that. You just have to soak it in water to keep it from discoloring during the fermentation process. We are all done and ready to go. So in my blender, I'm going to add some water, which will help the blade turn better. To that, I'll add my shredded up cassava, and then I'm going to blend it into a nice smooth consistency. Our cassava is nicely blended, so I'm going to pour it into a bowl. Now, if you feel you've used too much water, allow this to sit for a little bit and the water will settle on top of it and you can get rid of it. So now it is time for us to unveil our corn dough, and just look how nice and beautiful it looks. This is 7 days later and this is what we have. It looks beautiful, but if you didn't cover it with the bag, this is what you will have. And with this one, it's not bad, but scraping all this off, you have to scrape it with some of your corn dough, which is going to become waste, and we don't want that. So we will stick with the plastic bag over it method, because with that, even when I tried to get something, I could hardly get anything. So now it is time for us to mix everything together. All right, y'all, we are ready to make our banku mix now. So I'm going to put about 75% of my corn dough into this bowl right here. Now, the reason why I'm using only 75% is because I'm going to be making kenke, and that does not require cassava dough. Next, we'll pour our blended cassava in and we'll mix the two together until it is well combined. Now, let's talk about ratios, because in my deleted Banku mix video, I had that question a lot. So, the ratio to this is usually 2 parts corn dough to 1 part cassava dough. But if you like more cassava dough in your Banku, then use more. If you like less, use less. However, the more cassava dough you have in your Banku, the better the Banku becomes, and it also cooks faster. So that's what I love about it. I like nice soft banku, and cassava dough being in your corn dough gives you just that. All right, y'all, our banku mix is nice and ready. Now, we have a couple of ways you can store this. If you're not going to keep this in your freezer or in your refrigerator, you want to cover it back up with a plastic wrap and you want to ensure that the plastic wrap is sitting on top of your dough so that it doesn't grow fungus on it, and you're going to be enjoying this little by little until it is gone. But keep in mind that the fermentation process continues as long as it is not in a refrigerator or freezer. So be sure to keep it in the coolest place in your home. Okay, I don't do that, but I just had to show you all an option. The rest that's in this container I'm going to be using for my kinky, but because I'm not ready to be making the kinky today, I'm going to cover it back up with the plastic wrap and then cover it with the lid and set it aside until I'm ready to make my kinky. To store this in your refrigerator, put it in your choice of container, add water to the top of it, which will keep it fresh, cover it up, and into your refrigerator it goes. To store in your freezer, you need a freezer safe Ziploc bag. Just put everything in there, zip it up, and throw it in your freezer. Whenever you want to make banku, you can either thaw it in your microwave or bring it out the night before, leave it on your countertop, and by the next day it'll be ready to go. And that is it. It's so simple, it's so easy. There is no need to buy anything in it. Well, you buy the ingredients, but you get to make it yourself. Yes, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give your girl a thumbs up. Thank you. Share and subscribe, y'all. Share with your friends and family so they can join the sweet team as well. If you're a new subscriber, welcome to my channel. This is Sweet Ajele. Thank you so much for subscribing. And to the sweet team, I love you all so much. Until I see you in my next video, stay safe, keep loving each other, and remember that the love of God and family is life's greatest blessing. And guys, ke onamini ochemi sweet mahabotu. Bye y'all.